Alright, welcome back to Dwarf Fortress. So, picking up from pretty much exactly where I left off, apparently that human didn't really have anything to actually discuss, just wanted to stop in and say hi. And we're still in early winter, so I don't have to worry about this white is snow covering ice. So in the spring, this ice will melt, and anything walking over it is going to suddenly find itself very wet. Consequently, if something is in the water when it freezes, if it's a creature, the creature will be killed. If it's an item, I believe the item will be fine. I did have a particularly annoying invader get knocked into water probably a day or two in game before the water froze, and needless to say, that actually saved me quite a few dwarves. So it looks like the dwarves are finally just about done with this. So let's go ahead and make a stockpile for all those quartzite blocks that were sitting in the workshop and cluttering it up. So go to P for stockpiles, and we're going to do a custom stockpile with C, and then custom settings. Normally when we first open this up, it would be full of everything would be either selected or unselected, I'm not sure which. But go down to bars and blocks, enter to E to enable, and then you want to block all. Bars are going to be basically raw, usable metal that's been processed out of the ore. So you're never going to have a stone bar. What you're after is blocks, and this is the stone and clay option over here. That's to search, and I'll just start typing in. You don't need to type the full name. Usually, just a few letters is going to be sufficient. So enter once to exit out of the search, and make sure that you press enter again, and it will go from a light gray to a white. And then over here, you should hopefully be able to see the difference between the stone and clay is now slightly, it's a lighter gray instead of a darker gray. And this coloration change really can throw people off if they're not used to how it looks, or if you forget to check it. So we now have a bar block stockpile that is only accepting quartzite blocks. So go ahead and escape out of that. Come down here. Press enter to start the designation. Shift over, and let's go down a couple. So that creates the stockpile. Right away, you're going to want to do Q 3 wheelbarrows, just so that if there's a spare wheelbarrow sitting around, you can have up to 3 of them for a stockpile, so it'll help speed things up a little bit. Then you have changing the settings is just so you don't have to be recreating stockpiles. It's the same thing as when I made the stockpile. Max barrel is 0. There's nothing that can be valid that is a valid item for a barrel that can be stored in the stockpile, so that's going to be 0. Max bins, you're probably going to want to turn this down, so C and V increment or decrement by 1. Capital C and capital V will either turn it to 0 or turn it to the maximum. The A, actually I haven't played around with. Okay, so this is for linking various either stockpiles to workshops, workshops to stockpiles, or workshops to, stockpiles to other locations. So just go ahead and leave it on will take from anywhere. And then the take from a pile workshop, pile/workshop, or give to a pile/workshop is for kind of helping to increase the efficiency of the workshops. Realistically, there's only a couple of cases that I've run into where I've had to use that, so just go ahead and leave that as is. So we have some combat, and just hit R for reports. That should just be some sparring going on, which it is. And we should have let's ignore that. Okay, so down here, if you remember, I did drop 5 trolls down this little hatch pit thing. So those have now been killed. So let's go clean up the bodies and before they start to rot and stink up the place. Of note, miasma is only generated underground, or I believe if it has direct access to air. So if you drop bodies outside, they will, of course they'll rot, but they're not going to produce any miasma. So back to here, add task, pull the lever, and someone should be coming along momentarily to take care of that. So K to view this, and here we have bronze bolts, bismuth, yeah, can't talk today, bronze bolts. I believe they're mechanically identical as far as damage goes. I do have an absolute ton of copper on this map, so I'm using bronze instead of steel for my bolts. So we're going to want to do a mass reclaim, so the bolts can be reused. D for designations, B, and then C to reclaim items/buildings. Starting in this corner, I'm just going to go down. So then the pile of bolts are now reclaimed, so someone will come along and scoop those into a stockpile, and they can be reused. And here we have an announcement of exports being banned, so in for the noble screen, let's make sure that this is, oh dear. Apparently, instead of a barony, we have now become a county, and luckily this the baron who is now a count isn't all that annoying when it comes to mandates, but it does need to be checked just in case. So the export of flasks is prohibited, and the export of helms is prohibited, which is not a problem at all. So, as the dwarf, or as any dwarf, progresses through the ranks of nobility, they're going to want a couple more items here and there. So, because this is a partially fulfilled order, let's see if we can get the, go over to this so it's readable. They do already have a weapon rack and an armor stand, however, they want 2 of each, so it's not going to be that difficult to just cook up a couple extra ones. Go back to the other font. So this would be a very good time to do the manager. So go to unit list, U, info manager, add new order with Q. And I believe gold is one of the major building materials that I'm using, so just start typing in what you want. Usually I do a material first, then the item that I want to be made. So gold, then armor. So gold armor stand. Press enter. Then it's going to ask for a quantity. Unfortunately, you in the version I'm using, you cannot cancel out of this, nor can you put a zero quantity in. So you'd have to actually put in 1 through 30. You can only you can only place an order of between 1 and 30, but you can do multiple orders of 30 in case you need something produced in mass. So let's go ahead and make, let's say, 5 golden armor stands, and do a new order of gold weapon racks, quantity 5, and this will basically, some dwarf will run up to the manager and say, hey boss, we need 5 of these items. This validated, basically, the red X means that there's a pending order. The order's been placed, but it hasn't been approved for production. So all the orders have to be validated, and each order is a stack. So it could be a stack of 1 or a stack of 30. But as the manager gets better at managing things, this doesn't really take all that long. So let's give that a minute, come down here to the workshop, and if we check with K, these are actually statues. Okay, so I do actually have to do this construction order. If a noble or someone is asking for a couple extra pieces of furniture or whatever, they're not going to be immediately upset, but you don't want to have them waiting for too terribly long before you get around to giving them their new furniture. So let's go back and check on the manager. Here, these have been basically okay for production. So if we come down here, and unfortunately there isn't really a way of saying use a particular workshop for a particular manager controlled order. So the order is kind of divided as best as evenly as possible between the available workshops that are going to produce that order. So I now have 3 jobs for the Magnum Forges. We come over to Dwarf Therapist. I believe it is either blacksmithing or metal crafting. So I do have a legendary +5 in both skills, and I've got some extra people being trained up. I do remove all of the other skills from the basically the either top skilled or top 2 skilled people, so they're always basically on call in case there's an emergency that needs to be filled. So we can just let this run, and hopefully people will be getting to that. Now, because I'm making this out of gold, it is going to be relatively valuable, but it's also going to be incredibly heavy. In fact, we can go up here and look at the statue. So, if you remember, a boulder basically a stone boulder weighed 292, so let's call it 300. This golden statue weighs, let's call it 1200, so 6 times as much. No, 4 times as much. Never do math on when you're recording. It never works. So the statue is significantly heavier than even a basic stone. And here we can see the military's changing out, and we have more creatures reverting to wild states. I should really disable the pause for that. So here we have the stockpile already filling up with things. And there should be either people coming to collect the wood or people coming to drop off stone. And apparently a mandate has been ended. And people aren't actually taking care of the refuse as quickly as I would like, so we're going to designations, item properties, dump. We're just going to simply dump everything in this room into the garbage dump that's behind these walls. This T here is a troll corpse sitting on an item dump, and miasma cannot go through. I'm not sure if it cannot go through a single door, but I know that the door will, this airlock system where you have a pair of doors, will prevent miasma from escaping the area. Now we have about 20 less idle dwarves, as a bunch of people are running in to actually clean this up. And I think part of it could be that the stockpile here not entirely sure why those bodies weren't being hauled. But it keeps keeps the idlers down for a little bit. And there you actually see a couple of dwarves cleaning. Not entirely sure what they were doing. Right, so apparently they're actually cleaning up the just assorted bits and blobs of combat leftovers. So if we come down here, this workshop remains cluttered. And to use the Q to view. Okay. So this construction is actually finished, as is this one. If you go to Q, this wall is showing up as suspended, so S to unsuspend. And if you have a large area of construction that just isn't really getting done for some reason, check and make sure that something hasn't happened to cause the work to be suspended. So let's go ahead and fill in the corners. So build, construction, wall, and we're going to be using olivine blocks, I only have 9 of these. So one there, another wall, 3, and 4. So if we come here, we can do the last corners. Now let's go ahead and fill in the actual walls between the corners. So simply increase the size so that it fits, enter to place, and we're going to be using quartzite blocks. Now instead of having to go through and select each individual material for construction, Shift Enter, selects everything, and you're good to go. We can go over here, and quartzite blocks again. More quartzite blocks. And dwarves do have a very annoying tendency to build things from the wrong side, pull themselves in, do silly stuff like that. So I'm going to intentionally leave a block out so that they can get in and out. Then just to be able to put on the roof, I'm going to put an upstairs construction. And this really doesn't matter what it is, so I'll just use wood logs. It's literally right next to it. And over here, the same thing. Construct an upstairs. Right here, let's do granite blocks at the closest. So we should now have some people coming over this way to get the constructions worked on. We go down here. We have gap road block floors. This will prevent anything from growing or otherwise occupying the space, so this path will always be accessible, so we won't accidentally have, at some point, 3 trees grow just right, or just so that the path ends up getting blocked or something. So we're going to go to Build, Construction, F for floor, 3 wide, 10 tall, gap road block. And this is a finished floor. This has just been designated as something to be built. Build, construction floor again, 3 wide, 10 tall, and because we've already had another floor, and this does not actually save across launch in Dwarf Fortress, so it's only in the current game session. So gap road block 4 has already been done. Go ahead and designate that, and we should have a number of dwarves try to get onto that as soon as possible. So that's pretty much how you do constructions. There isn't anything in the game itself that says this is a construction that will do blank. Basically, you just construct something, and as long as you have constructed it properly, it will function, or rather, it will function however you construct it. So I believe that is right about 25 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the video again here. Next time is pretty much just going to be waiting for these guys to get some more of the construction stuff built. Something to keep in mind, these large constructions can take a while. even with such a large fortress. So I might look into expanding that a little bit. Also, currently all of the, let me pause it here, all of my military mark stores, we sort by squad. This is the combat squad of 7, and here is the training squad. I've got a guy who needs to actually get on running his skills, and these top 3 of 7 are pretty much ready to be put into service. Squads can only go up to 10, but I do need at least a couple of dwarves who can be told to patrol the new system, or the new towers. So I will be setting that up next time. So, until then, stay safe, and try to keep your dwarves away from the Forgotten Beast, well, Forgotten Beast in general.